Have you ever noticed that the more attention you give people, the less they seem to value it? You try to show interest, to be present, yet somehow they grow distant. In this video, we'll uncover the hidden law of power behind this, why withholding your attention makes people crave your presence, and how the wise use this trick to command respect without saying a single word. Power does not always come from action. Often, it comes from restraint, the art of holding back when every impulse urges you to give. Most people do not understand this. They believe that attention, affection, and availability are virtues that will bring them closer to others. They believe that if they give more of themselves, more time, more energy, more validation, they will be valued more. But human nature works in reverse. The more we give something, the less it is worth. The more we are seen, the less mysterious we become. The more we are available, the less powerful we appear. Attention is the purest form of currency. It is the invisible gold that fuels every social exchange. When you speak to someone, when you show interest, when you offer your emotional energy, you are paying them in this currency. And like any form of currency, its value depends on scarcity. A king's word is valuable because it is rare. A commoner's opinion is ignored because it is everywhere. The same principle applies to your attention. When you give it to everyone, it loses its weight. When you reserve it for few, it becomes sought after, envied, even worshipped. Observe how people chase what they cannot easily have. When someone seems uninterested, others feel the instinct to win them over. It is not love that drives this urge, it is ego. The human mind equates rarity with importance. If your attention is always available, they assume you have nothing better to do. But when you withhold it, when you are selective with your time, they begin to wonder what makes you so self-contained, so focused, so unattainable. Curiosity grows into fascination. Fascination grows into desire, and desire gives birth to respect. This law of scarcity governs all relationships, from the personal to the political. When a leader speaks too often, his words lose authority. When a lover always reaches out first, their affection loses magnetism. When an artist explains their work too openly, the mystery dies. The wise understand that distance, silence, and selective engagement are forms of power. They do not rush to be seen or heard. They let their absence speak louder than presence. In a world desperate for attention, the one who withholds it becomes a god among beggars. Think of attention as light. If you shine it constantly on someone, they stop noticing its warmth. It becomes ordinary. But when you remove it, when darkness returns, they remember what it felt like to be illuminated by it. That is when they start chasing it. That is when they realize its worth. Your attention should not be a light that shines on everyone. It should be a flame that few ever touch. To apply this law, you must first discipline your emotions. Because attention is often given impulsively through reaction, through curiosity, through desire for validation. When someone ignores you, your ego demands a response. When someone provokes you, you want to defend yourself. When someone seeks attention, you want to give it to maintain peace. Each of these reactions drains your power. True control lies in stillness, in observing without responding, in choosing where your light falls, and when. Scarcity creates demand, and demand creates value. This principle governs markets, kingdoms, and hearts alike. To make your presence valuable, you must first make it rare. You must learn to disappear at the right time, to hold silence when others expect words, to withdraw when others overextend. Your restraint will confuse them, frustrate them, and finally compel them, because in a world where everyone is screaming to be noticed, the one who stays silent becomes impossible to ignore. Indifference is not the absence of emotion, it is the mastery of it. It is the art of appearing unaffected when, in truth, you are in complete control. Most people wear their emotions like open wounds, easy to read. easy to manipulate. They react to every slight, every compliment, every act of attention or neglect. Their emotional transparency makes them predictable, and what is predictable is always powerless. Indifference, however, creates mystery, and mystery is the foundation of influence. When others cannot read you, they begin to project their own desires and insecurities onto you. They start to wonder what you are thinking, whether you like them, whether they have your approval or not. Their uncertainty consumes them, and this psychological tension binds them to your presence. They become restless in your calm, insecure in your silence. The illusion of indifference shifts the balance of power. They chase, you withdraw. They speak, you observe. They reveal, you remain hidden. People crave validation because it gives them a sense of control. When you respond quickly, when you show too much interest, they feel superior. Your eagerness feeds their ego. But when you remain unmoved, when your emotions do not bend to their words or actions, they begin to doubt their worth in your eyes. That doubt becomes an obsession. They try harder to win your attention, to provoke a reaction, to break through your composure. Every attempt they make deepens your control. You do not command them through force, but through absence, the absence of visible reaction, of predictable response, of emotional weakness. The illusion of indifference is not coldness, it is strategy. It does not mean you feel nothing, it means you choose when and how to express what you feel. You may burn with anger, but you show calm. You may feel curiosity, but you show distance. You may desire someone deeply, but you appear detached. This illusion gives you time to think, to analyze, to act with precision, while others are blinded by impulse. Those who can control their outer expression can control the emotions of others, because people mirror what they see. If you appear calm, they feel uncertain. If you appear certain, they feel small. If you appear indifferent, they feel desperate to awaken your interest. There is a silent power in not reacting. When someone insults you and you remain unshaken, they feel insignificant. When someone tries to impress you and you remain neutral, they start to question themselves. This self-doubt makes them seek your approval, and once they do, they are under your psychological influence. Their emotions revolve around you, while yours remain centered within yourself. This is how the illusion of indifference turns into control, not by dominance, but by quiet, invisible superiority. To master this illusion, you must detach your sense of worth from the reactions of others. You must stop needing validation to feel strong. Every time you crave attention, you give away a piece of your power. Every time you react emotionally, you surrender your position of control. Indifference is the wall that protects your inner world. Behind it, you can see clearly while others lose themselves in their own confusion. The most powerful figures in history understood that attention follows distance. They never rushed to explain, never begged to be understood. Their silence spoke of confidence, their stillness of power. When others expected reaction, they offered none. When others demanded emotion, they offered restraint. This made them appear untouchable, and the untouchable always fascinates. People are drawn to what they cannot fully grasp. Indifference makes you that enigma, the figure who cannot be conquered, who cannot be predicted, who cannot be emotionally moved. Familiarity is the silent assassin of respect. The more often people see you, hear from you, and experience your presence, the less they value it. Overexposure erodes mystery, and mystery is what keeps others intrigued and attentive. The human mind becomes numb to what it constantly receives. Just as a fragrance loses its charm when it lingers too long in the air, your presence loses its power when it is always available. Those who do not understand this fall into the trap of trying to stay visible, to stay relevant, to stay remembered, but in doing so, they become ordinary, predictable, forgettable. When you are always present, people begin to feel entitled to your presence. They stop earning it. Your value, once rare and precious, turns into background noise. They no longer listen when you speak because they assume they can always hear you again. They no longer appreciate your time because you have made it easy to access. And what is easily accessed is never truly respected. The one who is always available becomes invisible, not because people fail to see him, but because there is nothing left to discover. The trap of overexposure is not limited to physical presence. It exists in every form of human connection in how often you speak, how quickly you respond, how easily you give your energy. The constant impulse to be seen and heard is born from insecurity, the fear that if you are not visible, you will be forgotten. But in truth, power grows in absence, not in presence. It is when you are not there that others begin to remember, to imagine, to long for your return. When someone knows everything about you, your thoughts, your feelings, your routines, they lose the desire to seek more. The mind feeds on novelty and challenge. Once curiosity dies, so does attraction. The wise understand this and reveal themselves in fragments, never fully. They let silence fill the spaces between interactions, allowing anticipation to grow. Overexposure kills the imagination of others. It takes away the power of wondering, the thrill of uncertainty, the hunger to know more. To hold power in the eyes of others, you must learn to regulate your presence. Appear rarely but decisively. Speak less but with purpose. Make every encounter with you feel like an event, not a routine. The moment others begin to expect you, you are already losing your hold over them. They must feel that your presence is a privilege, not a right, that to gain your attention, they must be worthy of it. Overexposure is also the death of emotional leverage. When you constantly seek connection, you hand others the script of your desires. They know what you want, and once they know, they control you. The art of power lies in unpredictability, in showing up when least expected, in retreating when they crave you most. This rhythm of approach and withdrawal keeps their emotions unbalanced, and unbalanced people are easy to influence. The trap is subtle because it often feels good to be seen and acknowledged. Attention gives the illusion of importance, but it is a shallow form of validation. True importance does not chase visibility, it radiates from restraint. The more you expose yourself, the more you dissolve into the crowd. The less you are seen, the more your absence becomes a presence in their minds. Those who can resist the temptation of constant exposure rise above those enslaved by it. Because in a world that demands your constant presence, disappearance becomes your most powerful appearance. Distance is not merely the space between two bodies. It is the invisible thread that creates meaning, tension, and reverence. When used with wisdom, distance is not separation, but strategy, a form of control that shapes how others perceive you. It is through distance that value is created, for people only appreciate what they can no longer touch freely. The moment you are always near, always reachable, you become ordinary. But when you withdraw, when you allow absence to speak in your place, people begin to feel the weight of your silence. They start to fill that silence with imagination, and imagination always magnifies your importance. In every human interaction, the one who maintains emotional distance holds the upper hand. Distance creates uncertainty, and uncertainty breeds fascination. When people cannot easily predict your thoughts, your next move, or your intentions, they begin to study you, to overanalyze every gesture, every word. Their minds turn your mystery into meaning, assigning depth to what may simply be restraint. You control their perception by doing nothing more than withholding yourself. Distance works like gravity. The more you pull away, the stronger the desire to reach you becomes. It is a paradox that governs all attraction. The less accessible you are, the more attention you command. Those who cling, who always seek presence, suffocate the curiosity that keeps relationships alive. When you remove yourself, however, you allow others to experience the discomfort of loss. And in that discomfort, they begin to recognize your value. They start to wonder why you left, what you are doing, who now has your attention. Every thought they give you in your absence strengthens your influence. The silent power of distance is that it forces reflection. When you are not around, people are left alone with the echo of your presence. They replay conversations, reinterpret moments, question their behavior. In your absence, their mind does the work for you. You no longer have to prove your worth, their imagination does it for you. Distance transforms memory into myth. It turns a simple interaction into a legend, a brief encounter into an emotional anchor. That is why wise individuals never stay too long. They know that leaving at the right moment is more powerful than staying indefinitely. To practice distance is not to vanish, it is to withdraw with purpose. It is the difference between disappearance and dominance. You step back not because you are weak or disinterested, but because you understand that silence often says what words cannot. By creating space, you create gravity, a pull that others cannot resist. They start to feel your absence like an ache, and the more they try to fill it, the deeper it becomes. Distance also protects you from emotional entanglement. It prevents you from reacting impulsively, from being consumed by the noise of others. When you are too close, you absorb their chaos. When you step back, you observe it with clarity. Perspective is born from distance. The one who can detach can see the game for what it is, who is genuine, who is manipulative, who is trying to use emotion to control. Without distance, you are a pawn. With distance, you become the player. In the politics of power, distance creates hierarchy. A ruler does not walk among the crowd. He appears rarely, and when he does, his presence is felt like a revelation. His silence commands more attention than others' words. People bow not because they are forced to, but because the aura of distance demands it. That same principle applies in everyday life. The less accessible you make yourself, the more weight your presence carries when it finally returns. The rare glimpse, the rare word, the rare appearance each becomes an event that others anticipate and remember. Power is not in constant motion. It lies in rhythm, the rhythm of absence and reappearance. After silence, presence becomes thunderous. After distance, even a single word can reshape the atmosphere. The return of the king is not a mere comeback. It is a deliberate re-entry, crafted to remind others of what they lost when you withdrew. It is the art of timing your return so that your presence feels like a privilege once again. The power of absence means nothing without the mastery of return, for mystery must eventually meet revelation to complete its spell. When you withdraw, people begin to forget the small details of who you are, but they never forget how you made them feel. Their memory of you transforms, growing larger than life in your absence. They remember your silence as depth, your distance as strength, your calmness as superiority. Their mind, hungry for closure, starts to romanticize your image. But when you return, you must not destroy that illusion, you must embody it. The person who comes back should be sharper, more composed, more deliberate than the one who left. You return not as you were, but as what they imagined you to be. The timing of your return is everything. Appear too soon, and the hunger for you has not yet ripened. Appear too late, and the world may have learned to live without you. The wise observe the moment when curiosity peaks, when silence turns into restlessness. That is when your re-entry carries the most impact. You do not announce your return, you allow it to be felt. A single gesture, a few words, a subtle presence, each carries the weight of a legend returning to his throne. The return of the king is not loud or desperate. It is measured and calm. Those who shout for attention have none. Those who command attention through quiet presence hold all. When you reappear, people should feel both awe and uncertainty: awe for your renewed aura, and uncertainty about how much you have changed. They must sense that time has refined you, that absence has strengthened your will. You do not explain where you have been or why you were gone. Mystery must remain intact. Your silence during your absence was power. Your silence upon return is proof of that power. When others finally see you again, their perception of you has shifted. They remember how it felt to lack your presence, and this memory deepens their reverence. Familiarity fades, replaced by a subtle fear, the fear of losing you again. And fear is one of the strongest anchors of loyalty. They will watch their words, choose their tone, measure their behavior, because they now understand the consequences of your withdrawal. You no longer need to demand respect. Your absence has already taught it. The return of the king is not about regaining attention, but redefining it. When you return, you must not step into the same space with the same energy. You must carry an air of transformation, as though you have touched something beyond their reach. Your presence must feel elevated, your demeanor slower, your speech fewer but heavier. Every word should sound like a decision, not a reaction. People should feel that being in your presence is rare, and that rarity gives birth to reverence. Reappearance also tests the authenticity of others. Those who only valued your constant presence will vanish. Those who truly respected your essence will remain. Your return exposes their intentions, who misses you for your worth, and who misses you for their convenience. In this way, your absence purifies your circle, and your return crowns it. Power is not in being seen all the time, but in making your presence meaningful each time it appears. Your return should not simply mark a continuation. It should signal evolution, the emergence of someone who mastered silence, harnessed absence, and now walks back into the world as if he owns time itself in a world that worships noise. The rare man who controls his presence becomes divine. Power is not in chasing attention, but in commanding it through absence, silence, and restraint. The greatest illusion of influence is that you must always be seen, when in truth, the less you reveal, the more they crave you. Attention is the modern currency of dominance, and those who spend it carelessly become servants to the crowd. But the one who withholds it, who moves like a shadow and speaks like a king, becomes the center of every mind he touches. Never forget, people value what they cannot possess. When you stop giving your attention freely, you teach them the weight of your presence. When you step back, you allow imagination to do what words never could to magnify you. When you finally return, you do not return as the same person. You return as the mystery they could never solve. The power of presence lies in scarcity, and the art of control lies in making others feel your absence more deeply than your words. So learn to withdraw, learn to stay silent, learn to let the world come to you, because true dominance is not in being everywhere, it is in being missed everywhere you are not.